Hello. So hopefully we remember from last time that we had talked about the idea of helping students to learn more effectively by eliminating unnecessary tasks to reduce the extraneous cognitive load that they are subjected to in order to try and maximize learning. And we said last time that the most sensible thing to do with this in mind is to focus on two or three things per kind of learning episode. So whether that's a lesson or a couple of lessons, two or three things, two or three golden nuggets that we want students to take away. And they are probably the things that we've identified on our long and medium term plans and things that perhaps we've identified in our knowledge organisers. So that was last week. Last time was the extraneous load being reduced, taking out the unnecessary and distracting information. This week, we are going on to the issue of intrinsic load, of complex new information. So the fact that in order to cover our curriculum and in order to have something to retrieve, we do occasionally have to teach new material, and new material that is often quite complex. Now, what we are aiming for here, of course, is access, not slimming down. So if we take here the examples of capitalism and communism, capitalism and communism are always going to be complex, difficult subjects. Whether or not we are a year 9 student who is perhaps encountering these concepts for the first time, or whether or not we have read Das Kapital in the original German and consider ourselves a bit of a Marxist scholar, they are going to be complex concepts. So what we need to do is we need to think about how we approach this new material every time we present it to students. And in effect, we need to scaffold. We need to scaffold learning. We need to chunk the material down so that we can try and reduce the cognitive load. And this links back to the idea of two or three things. Small pieces of information dropped in at the right time when we've prepared the ground, when we've built this schemata in our students' minds, then they will be ready for the new load of information. But I think we also need to bear in mind that one of the things we are attempting to do is we're trying to get all students as close as possible to the same level of understanding. And we're not suggesting that that is easy, but I think we are suggesting that it is kind of our duty as educators to make sure that all students have at least the opportunity to grapple with and ultimately grasp these new complex ideas and pieces of information. So that is going to go back to, that's going to force us to go back to how we scaffold these tasks, how we decide to chunk them, the order in which we decide to deploy the information has all got to be thought about. And I think one of the reasons this is quite important comes back to this quote from Dr. Michael Riley. And it's one of these quotes that I love, which is, why should some pupils build a cathedral while others assemble a garden shed? And it kind of is our job to try and think about how we break this new material down, scaffold it, chunk it, revisit it, so that all students develop the same level of understanding, or as close to the same level of understanding as we can manage. And finally, this links to the work of Hattie, who was talking about the importance of very, very high teacher estimates of achievement. Basically, the higher or the more positive we are about what students can achieve, and the more we can communicate that to students, according to Hattie's research, the more likely they are to achieve it. So, takeaways: eliminate the extraneous, stick to 2 or 3 things per learning episode, break it down into small chunks, think about how we're going to scaffold them, and have really high expectations that students will be able to grapple with and get an understanding of these key ideas. Hope that was helpful. Hope you're all well. Thanks very much. Take care. Bye bye.